Hi there, everybody. We are now back at school, so I hope you had a good break. We are now moving forward on to chapter 22, which is basically sexually transmitted diseases or infections, STDs, STIs. You'll hear me say that interchangeably, so they're the same thing. Sexually transmitted diseases, sexually transmitted infections. They're the same thing. Kind of like saying leave or exit or go. Also in this chapter, we were talking about HIV and AIDS. So you're going to learn a whole bunch of things regarding risk factors of being sexually active. Again, remember, you always want to choose to abstain from any forms of sex, any 4 forms of sex: skin to skin, sexual intercourse, penis vagina penetration, oral sex, anal sex, giving or receiving. So again, abstinence is the best way to not be at risk of any form of diseases. So we're on page 574, and they're talking about risk factors of sexual activity. So there's like they call it a silent epidemic, which basically STDs do not discriminate. So if you choose to be sexually active in any of the 4 forms, be in mind where you live, what you look like, if you have a car, no car, if you have money, no money, male or female, STDs do not discriminate whatsoever. If you choose to be sexually active, then you're choosing to putting your life at risk as well as other people. So there's some in this chapter, they refer more to like STI. I'm old school. We do STDs. It's the same thing. Okay. So when you're reading this, remember STI and STD are the same thing. You have some risk factors here regarding your behavior. Now, again, if you're making poor choices and you're getting involved, with people or doing things you shouldn't be doing, like drugs and alcohol, or hanging out with people that don't make good choices, that's a risky behavior. All right. And not if you do have an STD or you're not sure if you have one, you need to go to the doctor. And if you don't get treatment on it, the STD can get worse. Having multiple partners, having more than one multiple sexual partner, and be in mind, it's not just sexual intercourse, okay? If you are doing skin to skin with one person and another person, you can be at risk with that. And remember how I talked about the sexual organs, male and female. Male sexual organs are external and female sexual organs are internal. So us females are more at risk of STDs because we can't see internally what's happening in our sexual organs. Males, if you have a genital wart or if you have green pus coming out of your penis, that's a red sign. If you have blood coming out of your penis, that's a red sign, like, hello, red flag, something's up. Either you may have kidney issues or you could have an STD. So again, there's some 3 major ones. Ignoring risk factors, ignoring, that if you're choosing to be sexually active, that you're not using protection. Protection is not 100% effective. Protection is not 100% effective. The 100% effective way of not getting an STD in any way, shape, or form is abstaining from any forms of drugs. Multiple partners is another mention I talked about, and not seeking treatment. And if you don't seek treatment, some of the STDs that are curable can become incurable. So, yes, I said some STDs are curable and some are not incurable. All of them are treatable with medication or some kind of antibiotic, but not all are curable. Some of them will be with you for the rest of your life. All right, so ways to avoid STDs. Well, don't put yourself in that situation. Don't be alone with your boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever, because mom and dad or whoever you live with aren't home. Control your hormones, set boundaries. Remember we talked about boundaries in healthy relationships. Set boundaries, have goals in life. You don't want to risk ruining reputation, being a teen parent whatsoever. So you want to avoid situations where you are not going to be put in that, like being alone with the boyfriend or girlfriend or whomever. Practice abstinence. Be proud of yourself. Love yourself first. Remember, I talked about that when it came to self-esteem. So again, practice abstinence. Be proud that you don't want to be sexually active because you want to control you want to get ahead of yourself. You want to be having goals and dreams. So it can be probably hard in high school. Of course it would. Your friends are possibly teasing you, or you think everyone's doing it. Not everybody's doing it, okay? Not everybody is sexually active. Trust me, not everybody is sexually active in high school. Avoid drugs. Big issue here. A lot of times when people are going to gatherings or parties or whatever you call them nowadays, there's drugs and alcohol there. Not all the time. Sometimes it's just real pop, okay, or real Kool-Aid. But be in mind and be aware what's in that pop or Kool-Aid, or if there is alcohol or drugs being involved. Once you start drinking alcohol, doing drugs, taking pills, vaping, smoking marijuana, your mind is all jacked up. It does not think properly. It does not think rationally. Remember, your brain is not fully developed to about 25 anyways. So if you're throwing drugs and alcohol into your system, into your body, you're affecting your judgment. All right? And again, you don't have to know the person to have sex. Unfortunately, people do that and they don't care who the individual is. Sex is not all what it's up to be, in the sense that it's mostly physical, of course, but there's more involved with it, the emotional state, okay? And again, can any of you guys afford having a child this age? No, you cannot. So remember, abstaining is the key, but avoiding drugs and alcohol of any shape, form. Be aware of your boundaries. Again, I can't emphasize enough to you that there are some drugs out there that people put in your drinks. You can't smell it, taste it, or see it. It's GHB is one of them, the date rape drug. And there's a lot of times when you might be pressured, but how strong are you as a person to be able to say no? No is a very powerful word. And yeah, if it was so easy, then we would not have teen parents or we would not have drug problems in our world. Of course, it's easier said than done, but how much strength and confidence do you have in yourself to be able to say no? And if your friends are still pressuring you into doing things that you don't want to do, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, because they say, well, if you love me, you will do A, B, and C, and D to me, for me, whenever I want. That is not true love. That is not a real healthy relationship. No one should force you into doing anything you don't want to do. And again, if you are drinking or doing drugs of any sort, your mind is going to be messed up and you're not going to think rationally. A lot of people think, oh my God, I regret this. Or, oh, well, the alcohol made me do it. Well, I wasn't really there mentally because I had so much of this drug or pot or whatever. Well, when it comes to drinking, you're aware of what you're doing. You just don't really care. So you may be aware that you're being intimate with somebody, but your boundaries are being now messed up. So you have to be very conscientious of what you are doing to yourself. And again, no means no in any way, shape, or form. So avoid drugs, avoid situations that you can't get out of. Moving forward to choosing your friends. Like the whole thing is about choosing your friends. People say you are a product of your environment to a point. If you're hanging around people who are sexually active, who are promoting it, who are not promoting your choice to not have sex, those aren't good friends. Now, you can have different viewpoints. I'm not saying you can't. But your friends should support you and understand that that's not what you want. Yes, you can have a boyfriend or girlfriend. You can have someone in your life. But again, the boundaries, the respect, the self-respect first, the boundaries, and you shouldn't have any pressure into it. And again, if the person's going to pressure you, he or she is not worth it. They are not worth risking your life. A lot of these STDs, like I mentioned earlier, are with you for the rest of your life. You eventually will die from them, like HIV, AIDS. There's no cure for them. There's no cure for those diseases. All right. Yes, they've come a long way since, the 80s. I'm an 80s kid. That's when that first came out. And it's come a long way. Yes, there's medication for you. Yes, you're able to live a longer life with some of these STDs, but it's not the best life that you can have. All right. So again, choose your friends wisely. Avoid drugs and alcohol of any sort. Practice abstinence. All right. Be proud of yourself. Love yourself first. Set goals. Set boundaries. Moving on. So that was pretty much section 1. All right. Section 2. What kind of STDs are there? Now, again, remember the chapter talks about STIs and STDs. What kind are there? Well, there's some that are curable and incurable. Some that cannot go away, will never go away. Some of them might go away, like be dormant, and you may not see the genital wart on your penis or vagina, but it's there because it's a virus. But some of them go away. So bacterial STDs are treatable and curable, and you cannot have them again. But here's the key thing you need to remember. If you continue being sexually active in any shape or form of the 4 forms, you are at risk already because your immune system's been compromised of getting it again. Let me say that one more time to you guys. If you choose to be sexually active in any of the 4 forms, and you get an STD, one that is treatable and curable, one that's a bacteria, you can get rid of it. But if you're choosing to be sexually active again, your immune system's compromised already, you can get it again. And you can have multiple STDs. You can have a cocktail of STDs. So you have bacterial STDs. You have trichomoniasis, or it's called trich sometime. You have uridias, which is basically like you have a yeast infection. You have human papillomavirus, which is HPV. You also have chlamydia. Do any of these sound good to you? They don't. They're gross sounding words, and they're gross to your body. They're a bacteria. All right, so you want to understand that with chlamydia, you can get pelvic inflammatory disease, which is PID. Basically, what happens is for the female, if not treated, her reproductive organs can be a factor. Like a lot of times, some women get ectopic pregnancies. Remember, we talked about that in the previous chapter. Because the scarring of the fallopian tube and the egg will not be able to travel down. So if you have PID, you can have risk factors of getting pregnant. Gentlemen, if you have chlamydia, you have a chance of getting infection in your penis, where you could have yellow and greenish goo coming out, a major odor, and again, these bacterial diseases are treatable and curable, but you can get them again. Another one, you have gonorrhea. Gonorrhea is an STD that about 700,000 Americans get it yearly. It's pretty sad, pretty gross. And a lot of times you also could have newborn babies might get an STD. So let me just tell you, if a mother is pregnant and she has an STD, her unborn child can get that disease as well. There could be complications during pregnancy. There could be complications while she's delivering. There could be complications afterwards. So again, remember way back when we're talking about childbirth, and pregnancy, whatever the mother eats and drinks affects the baby. Well, whatever the mother does to her body, like if she has an STD, can affect the baby. So when babies are born, sometimes doctors would put these little eye drops into their eyes to make sure that they are able to see, because they want to make sure that there's no gonorrhea infection or no syphilis infection. So again, the babies can be a factor on this. You have some other STDs that are bacterial, like cankers or cankeroid. It's a bacteria. You have sores around your genitalia area. It can also be through your skin. You have an STD, it's called pubic lice or scabies. Yes, pubic lice or scabies. You know how like when kids were little, elementary school, they would have head lice? You can get lice in your penis and vagina hair area. Absolutely, you can. Pretty gross. And the only way that you can get rid of that is, like they would do the shampoo for the hair on your head, do the same thing. No, you don't need a prescription for that. You can get it over the counter. But again, how embarrassing will that be when you're going to CVS or Target and having to get that kit to clean out the scabies and lice in your penis and vagina hair area? Pretty gross. All right. You have, like I mentioned earlier, like a yeast infection. It's also called a bacterial vaginosis. So this is when the woman has a discharge, which just smells pretty bad. It's like yellowish and white. There's itchy, there's burning sensation, especially when you're trying to go to the bathroom. And you can use an antibiotic with that. You have to go to the doctor, though, to get the antibiotic, okay? Sometimes a lot of girls will get yeast infections because they're wearing tight clothing, not because they're just having sex, all right? So you have to make sure that you guys clean yourself all the time, male and females. There's a picture on page 581 that shows picture of a pubic lice. It's pretty gross. It's kind of gross. Now you have, let me see here. I talked about trichomoniasis, HPV, human papillomavirus. That one definitely affects individuals. You can get genital warts. So if you have HPV, that can roll into genital warts. Any STD that starts with an H is not curable. All STDs are treatable, but not curable. Bacterial STDs are treatable and curable. Viral STDs are not curable. They're treatable, but not curable. right, I'm going to stop for one moment and I'll come back with you shortly.